with us. Further, I'd like to remind delegates that in terms of Rule 229 of the Council rules, time for reply to the Deputy President to a question is 5 minutes. Only 4 supplementary questions are allowed per question. A member who was asked the initial question would be the first to be afforded an opportunity to ask a supplementary question. The time for asking a supplementary question is 2 minutes. The time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes. The supplementary question must emanate from the initial question. I would now like to call upon the Deputy President to respond to question number 1, asked by the Honourable Moe Mang. Honourable Deputy President, could you take the podium? Honourable Deputy President, the first question was from the Honourable Moe Mang, and you have 5 minutes to respond.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chairperson, and good afternoon to all honourable members. Honourable Deputy Chairperson, I would like to thank Honourable Moe Mang for raising this important question on revitalizing and growing the manufacturing sector in our townships and rural areas of our country. As government, we are dedicated to transforming apartheid's spatial planning by investing in critical industries such as manufacturing, revitalizing and creating jobs in communities where people live. To this end, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition has developed Industrial Parks Revitalization Program aimed at resuscitating and reviving South Africa's old and abandoned industrial parks and equipping them to drive job creation in the manufacturing sector in townships and rural areas. The Industrial Parks Revitalization Program further aims at supporting state-owned industrial parks and identified enabling opportunities for local manufacturing and value addition in marginalized communities. Government has made significant progress in areas such as Nkua Industrial Park in Tzaneen, Isithebe Industrial Park in Mandeni, Machabeng Enterprise Industrial Park, and the Wild Coast Industrial Park in Mthatha. The Nkua Industrial Park, where Pepper Joy International is a major tenant, employs 66 emerging and commercial farmers for processing plant inputs. This initiative creates 6,000 seasonal workers for 9 months, excluding 348 permanent employees and 5,000 indirect jobs created through contracted farmers. The Industrial Parks Revitalization Program, led by DTIC in collaboration with the National Treasury's City Support Program and Township Economic Development Framework, are aimed at developing integrated city development strategies. These strategies are already under implementation in Tembisa, Kuruleni, New Brighton in the Eastern Cape. In July 2024, during Minister Stella Ndabene's budget speech for small business development, she pronounced that through the Small Enterprise Finance Agency, SEFA, government has allocated an amount of 266.8 million rand to Small Enterprise Manufacturing Program. This will strengthen the Black Industrial Program and ensure more participation of small enterprises in the manufacturing sector. When delivering the budget vote speech in July this year, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition also briefed Parliament on government programs to support special economic zones The SEZs are aimed at expanding economic activity in underdeveloped parts of South Africa. To date, there are 11 designated SEZs, of which 9 are being supported by the SEZ Fund. According to the Minister, the SEZs have generated investments amounting to 19.6 billion rand. In conclusion, Honorable Chairperson, Government is committed to fostering collaboration with the private sector while building the capacity of the state to create a conducive environment for township and rural economies to thrive. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now go up to the follow-up question. Honorable Moemang.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Ke re tlotile Motlatsa President wa naga ya Afrika Borwa re Mashatile. Let me thank you for re-emphasizing the importance of SEZ and industrial park and the need for them to be aligned with the growth opportunities within regions and provinces, and also ensuring that they are fully planned, funded, developed, and managed and marketed that will propel industrialization. Now, the question that I want to pose as a follow-up, Deputy President, is whether government has looked at developing incentive schemes for investors in the SEZ and industrial parks to ensure that there is interagency coordination of the industrial parks and SEZ and ensure that there is future expansion. Thank you, Deputy President. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Moemang. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Moemang. Indeed, Honorable Moemang, as I said earlier, one of the things that government has done was to set up an SEZ fund, which is currently in place, amounting to about 19 billion rands to support these initiatives. There are also a number of tax relief measures that are being used to support these small businesses or small enterprises, particularly in the SEZs. They benefit from reduced corporate taxes as well, including customs, free zones, VAT relief, but also CIP, which is your critical infrastructure program, is meant to support these small, medium enterprises in the SEZ. So there are a number of these tax measures that are being used, and particularly to ensure that we can help these small businesses to thrive. So SEZ is an area which these small businesses get these incentives, including grants, but as I said earlier, that a lot of infrastructure in the SEZ is provided by government, and that is to ensure that the small enterprises do benefit from the measures that the government is putting in place. And I must say that most of them, as I said, almost 9 of the SEZs are benefiting, and both small and medium enterprises. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. We'll move on to the second follow-up question, and that's from the Honorable Van den Berg.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairman of the House. Deputy President, my questions. Has government considered that the township economy needs primary products in order to manufacture goods and services? Would it not be wise for government to consider investments into protecting and/or promoting local primary and secondary production to supply the quasi-economy? Rather than putting the cart before the horse, Should government continue with a frenzy to find and finance SMMEs? Some SMMEs only last as long as the funding is available, resulting in a 2 billion rand loss for SIFA. And what measures has government put in place to lessen the exposure of the township economy from international import dependency? We have to ask, why are we not producing at least denim material from South African cotton mills? Why is the township economy not producing at least leather from animal skins? By estimate, half of the billion raw skins from our slaughterhouses are exported, and they are half of the billion raw skins exported are not even earning export duties. But we then import our precious animal skins in the form of shoes at high markups. Can we not teach the youth to become tailors, builders and shoemakers
your time has expired.
like they do in India? Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Vandenberg. Honourable Deputy Chairperson, the purpose of the SCZ is also to encourage small businesses to focus on localization. So that's really the driving objectives, that they must produce local goods rather than importing goods. So whether it's looking at leather or denims and so on, it's something that we encourage. It may well be that we may not reach all the different products in the immediate future, but the main objective is to get them to be able to produce goods using local materials and making sure that they also can create employment. Because if you rely on exports, there are very few opportunities to create employment, because you get finished goods, then you sell them. So SCZs are mainly for manufacturing, and we do encourage them to use local material to be able to support the South African economy, create jobs in our country, and make sure that they themselves, through the support they get from government, can grow those enterprises. So I agree with you that we must make them sustainable, so that we don't fund them and we keep funding them. Once we've funded them, we want to see them being sustainable going forward, supporting themselves through the productions that they are involved in. That's why we also, in addition to other measures I spoke about earlier, that SIFA as well is putting a lot of money in support of these enterprises. Almost more than 60 million rand has been budgeted for to support most of these enterprises in the SCZ. So yes, Honourable Member, they say local is lekker. So let's promote that. Let's make sure that, yes, our enterprises must produce. If they produce nice techies, denims, I'm sure all of us honourable members will go and buy them. We won't be waiting for imports. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that's from the Honourable Suisa.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Deputy President, about 40% of the working age population and 60% of the country's unemployed people live in townships. Townships are therefore at the center of the crisis that South Africa is experiencing, namely high unemployment, persistent poverty, and record high levels of inequality. And to date, there have been no real efforts taken by government to revitalize townships and rural economies. as they continue to face many challenges such as lack of markets, inadequate infrastructure, and little to no government support. In light of this, which initiatives have you taken to promote entrepreneurships and assist manufacturers, especially in rural areas, to promote their products? Further, which steps have you taken to ensure that their products find place in the shelves of big retail stores in this country, so as to upscale the revitalization of township economies so that the rural and township economy may occupy its rightful place in the mainstream economy of South Africa and contribute meaningfully in creating jobs, alleviating poverty, and growing the economy? Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair. Honourable Switzer, you are quite right that we need to get these enterprises to also target international markets, so they don't produce only for the local market, but also international markets. Recently, I had an opportunity to visit Ireland and United Kingdom, and one thing good that we did, the Honourable Member, we brought the Minister of Small Business Development with us, because we realize that most cases when we create opportunities outside of South Africa, we do it for the big corporates. But this time we took the Minister of Small Development to promote products that are being developed by small, medium enterprises, but also drumming support for them. So the issue of township economy is something that both DTIC and Small Business Development are pushing. I know that in places like Gauteng, there have been very active initiatives of driving what they call township economy. The MEC for Economic Development introduced that program very actively, and it's beginning to happen also in other provinces. So we would like to see more of that, and I've discussed with the minister, both Minister of Small Development, DTIC, to push provinces in that direction, where we can have more activities that are taking place in townships, and real activities, not just spaza shops. Because, people, when they think of township economy, they think spaza shops. We want real activities, manufacturing activities that must take place in our townships, small manufacturing sectors that we saw in the past, which we are beginning to revive as we speak, because there have been in other local areas small industries. Many of you will know them in different parts of our country that were there closer to townships. Those must be revitalized. So I agree with you. Township economy, very important, and we must urge everybody to support those initiatives throughout the country, so that the small businesses can help us in growing the economy and creating jobs in our country. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much. We now move on to the last follow-up question on this one, and that is from the Honourable Dr. Srehokel.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson, and welcome, Deputy President. With reference to the revival of the, sorry, not that, that's the following question, sorry. Load shedding has made manufacturing an impossible undertaking. Now that we appear to have it partly under control, Eskom is proposing a 40% price hike, which will render our manufacturing sector hopelessly uncompetitive. Will you engage with the Minister of Electricity and Energy to ensure that this job-killing increase does not go ahead. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much. Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Skogel. The problem of load shedding was indeed something that affected all of us. I'm sure many of us as South Africans are now very glad that we seem to have this now behind us. More than 200 days of no load shedding. It's quite good. What we are doing with the Minister of Electricity is to ensure that this intervention is sustainable. So that it's not a short-term intervention, because in order to grow businesses, whether it's small, medium, or big businesses, you need reliable energy. Yesterday, when the minister was briefing me and the president, he said they had put a target of 70% of the energy reliability factor or availability factor. They have now reached that target as we speak. We are at 70% energy availability factor. So it means the chance of load shedding as we speak now is nil. But remember, the problem with load shedding is that you do need your power stations to always be properly maintained. Because the problem is that during load shedding, the reason why we had that problem is that we had to take a lot of them out for maintenance because they have not been maintained for a long time. But now, if you have 70% energy availability factor, then you have room to be able to take some out for proper maintenance and be able to bring them back on time before you have challenges. So I can say without doubt that I think we have gone past the worst, and where we are now, we have enough energy to power the economy, because that's really what we need for all enterprises, for communities out there, including in rural areas. Everybody needs energy to survive. But working with the Minister of Energy as well, they are also looking at introducing other methods so that we don't only rely on coal-fired power stations. As you know, we're moving towards the just energy transition, so we need to begin to look at a clean method of energy. So that is happening as we speak, wind, solar, etc. That's what we are pushing as we speak. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. We now move on to the next question that was put by Honorable Badenhorst. Honorable Deputy President, your response to that question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. The question by Honorable Badenhorst on the revival of the National State-Owned Enterprise Bill is appreciated. Honorable Deputy Chair, President Cyril Ramaphosa stated at the opening of the 7th Parliament that government will finalize a new centralized ownership model for state-owned enterprises in order to improve, amongst others, accountability, transparency, governance, and oversight, while reducing inefficiencies and potential for corruption. In this regard, the National State Enterprise Bill that lapsed in the 6th Parliament has now been revived by the 7th Parliament. Among other matters, the National State Enterprise Bill 2024 is aimed at developing a strategy for national state enterprises to establish the state asset management, state-owned company, provide for appropriate and effective monitoring and reporting mechanism over state enterprises and subsidiaries. Deputy Chairperson, I'm pleased to report that President Ramaphosa has since assigned Minister in the Presidency, Ramokgopa, responsible for planning, monitoring and evaluation, the responsibility to finalize the processes towards establishment of the State Asset Management Company and associated matters. The state entities that were previously under the stewardship of the former Department of Public Enterprises in particular will now report to their respective line function departments in terms of policy and regulatory matters. The National State Enterprise Bill 2024 will play a critical role in the future governments of South African state-owned enterprises. In this regard, the centralized model will ensure that state-owned companies or enterprises are insulated from political influence and interference. The board of the holding company will have independence over state-owned enterprises to provide oversight without undue influence. To ensure we deliver to the third priority of government of national unity, that of building a capable, ethical and developmental state, government will pursue every action that will contribute to sustainable, rapid economic growth and remove every obstacle that stands in the way of growth, including eliminating fraud, corruption and maladministration in the public service. Those are the things that we believe we will be able to achieve through this centralized model once it is fully implemented. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. We now go to the follow-up question. And Honorable Bardenos, do you have a follow-up?
Thank you, Deputy President. Good to see you again in the House.
Thank you.
As you just said, Deputy President, in July this year, the President did indeed announce that state-owned enterprises will fall under direct control of his office, with the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation taking charge of the restructuring. However, Deputy President, in August, the President reassigned the responsibility for state-owned enterprises to the respective line function ministries. So forgive me, but the word vacillating comes to mind, something that South African public has gotten quite used to during the Ramaphosa presidency. Can you perhaps indicate which one it is now? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Bardenos. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Well, perhaps let me simplify it this way, that the President is not moving away from the centralized model. So that is continuing. That's why you have this, this bill that is now coming before the National Assembly. The minister in the Presidency responsible for planning is working on that. But what has happened is that this model is only for certain strategic SOEs, not all of them. It's going to target certain strategic SOEs to be in the centralized model. But the President wants to deal with what really concerned government over a long time. And as I said, Honorable Bardenos, to be able to ensure accountability. So the centralized model, that company is not meant to run ESCOM, but it will ensure that ESCOM accounts to the central state company under the Presidency, because the President wants to have an oversight over all state-owned companies They can operate, have their boards and so on, but most of them will be monitored by this centralized state-owned companies. It's a model that you will find in places like Singapore. They have the same model where you try and bring state companies under one roof, but some of them you give them independence to operate. So they still have their independence to do their operations, but they will be monitored by the centralized company. So we're not going to take all of them stock, lock, and barrel with their balance sheets. A lot of them will still operate out there. So we are in the process of looking at that and seeing how this model is going to work. We are looking at the experiences from other countries that have been very successful. In fact, if you look at I don't know if you have had an opportunity to look at the Singapore model, because of that approach where they are able to bring a lot of strategic enterprises in the centralized model, they were able to list that company on the stock exchange. And at the same time, they were able to then build a sovereign wealth funds on the balance sheet of such as an own state company. But there will be other state-owned companies out there that are running on their own, doing their own operations. But this company, this centralized state-owned company, will be able to monitor and do oversight on all companies and enterprises owned by the state. So it's not either or. The President was just ensuring that we understand that we're not taking everything stock, lock, and barrel. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. The next follow-up question is from the Honorable Mabilo.
Honorable Deputy Chair, thanks once again, DP.
Yes.
Honorable DP, there is a general consensus that there is an urgent need for significant reform measures to address the chronic and sustained challenges, inefficiencies affecting our state-owned enterprises, to ensure that they continue to play a pivotal role in the South African economy and serve as a critical vehicle for achieving improved economic growth, poverty reduction, and the National State Enterprise Bill provides a critical foundation for development of a strategy for the transformation of the national state enterprises. My question to the Honorable DP is whether government has set in place timeframes for addressing the complex and conflicting legal and policy architecture that currently governs the state-owned enterprises, particularly the interplay between 1, the bill, 2, the Companies Act, 3, the Public Finance Management Act, and the existing foundation legislation that may be applicable to certain state-owned entities. Thank you, DP. Thank you, Deputy Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mabilo. Honorable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. Honorable Mabilo, the process has started. As I said earlier, that we're going the route of a centralized model to be able to improve reforms on how we manage state enterprises. Now, this National State Enterprise Bill was already introduced early this year in the previous administration before the elections. Of course, because of the end of the term of government, it lapsed. But as I said earlier, it has now been revived, managed by the Minister in the Presidency. She's busy with that now to ensure that it's one of the urgent matters that we deal with. So if you talk time frames, we're already there. In fact, if I recall, already on around July, the matter was now once again being brought to the Portfolio Committee. So it will soon also come to the NCOP, because it's a very important bill that set up this new framework and these new reforms that we are pushing. So you consolidate some of the critical state-owned companies, you ensure oversight on all of them, and make sure that you have a line of sight of what is happening, because many people have been saying state-owned enterprises are just gobbling resources, they are not effective, they are not accountable. That's where you find a lot of fraud and corruption. So this is an intervention that's going to end that. That's going to make sure that we put all those problems behind us and have efficiencies. Because once state-owned companies are able to work efficiently, then we'll achieve our goal of growing an inclusive economy much faster and make sure that we can increase employment and make sure that many of the people who are unemployed are able to get employment, especially young people. So, in short, all I'm saying that we are reforming that sector of state-owned enterprises to work efficiently. So the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation did look at the recommendation from the Presidential Review Commission, or rather committee, Presidential Review Committee that has come up with proposals. And she's busy now setting up all those things. So that bill will come through here, and we hope that the NCOP will support this intervention going forward. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy President. We now move on to the next follow-up question, and that comes from the Honourable J.S. Majola.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Thank you, Deputy President, and also thank you for your responses. We are pleased, Deputy President, to hear that the process is about to arrive to its destination in terms of planning. You indicated that the ministry in the Presidency office is about to present the plan. We are further pleased to note from your response that this proposed central plan, it won't take away the powers from the respective line functions department, depending on the nature of the SOE. My first question, you indicated that as the SOE is listed in Schedule 2 of the Public Finance Management Act, you indicated that not all of them that will fall into this proposed plan. If maybe the Deputy President maybe can give us a hint as to which are those out of 700 SOEs listed in Schedule 2. But my question is, did also the government apply its mind when you look at the individual performance of the SOEs, that if we put them in the same central operational plan, those who are not performing in terms of generating revenue will have a burden to the one that are performing, maybe with regards to the operation point of view. How are we going to prevent that situation? Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Deputy President, your response.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Chair. Honourable Majola, thank you very much for your support of this model. As I can hear that you are very enthusiastic about it. You are quite right. South Africa has got a lot of SOEs. So what the minister is doing is looking at the review, the recommendation of the review committee to look at what they say exactly. You may recall that at some point there were also views that some of them needs to be merged and so on. So there are a number of proposals. But I think what the President emphasizes is that the centralized ownership model is to ensure that for the first time, government at the highest level will have a view of state-owned enterprises and how they operate, and particularly the strategic ones. And I think one of the things the minister will come up with is which one are strategic, because we may differ here in terms of whether you think Sandral is strategic or PRASA or ESCOM and so on. So that's the work she's doing now, to comb through that to say these ones are strategic and therefore we want to ensure that we have a centralized ownership model. But we want the state-owned companies at the center to be able to look at all our state-owned enterprises, because the main issue here is accountability. So the President was not saying we really want to take operations of all state-owned enterprises, but we want to make sure that the centralized model of ownership particularly focuses on the strategic ones, but be able to ensure that we can monitor, we can ensure accountability, so that these state-owned enterprises are effective. It may well be that in the review, the minister might find out that some of them should not exist in the current manner in which they exist, or current structures that they have at the moment. But we do want to make sure that all of them are efficient. So we will come back once we have come through this whole big list of more than 700 state-owned companies and say, okay, I mean, the NCOP will also have a say. You may be able to say, no, we don't think this is strategic. Just leave it there. But we'll watch it still. So there's nothing we're not going to watch. We will watch it, because if we believe that an SOE must exist, it means it's important. It means it must be watched, it means it must be accountable, it must be efficient, and so on. So that work at least has now started, and it will come here. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The last follow-up question is from the Honourable Gericka.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, and afternoon, Deputy President.
Afternoon.
Apology. Deputy President, the Economic Freedom Fighters has on various platforms lamented the importance of state-owned enterprises in South Africa. It is wrong to generalize and paint all officials with the same brush. We cannot condone this type of conduct on this level, and South Africa has been corrupted long before 1994, when the white apartheid government ransacked our country's resources. This includes SAA, Transnet, the mining industry, etc., and nothing has happened to any one of them, Deputy President. This has continued under the democratic government, as one finds that under the leadership of the ruling party, there has for years been a deliberate and systematic destruction of state enterprises, where they are exploited by opportunistic politicians. This mainly a result of leadership failures on the part of the ruling elite, who show no signs of being concerned about the running of the country and growing its economy. In light of this daunting reality, which measures have you put in place to strengthen SOE practices so as to introduce transparency and accountability at all levels and put ethics at the center of business decision making? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Gericke. Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Honourable Gericke, what I was saying earlier on is that we are reforming the sector. As you're asking, what are we doing? Amongst others, through the centralized model, we want to deal with those challenges. And you are quite right. Some of the problems date back from the apartheid era. We inherited some of the state-owned enterprises. We didn't change them ourselves. So we are saying now is the time. Let's change the way SOEs are owned, how they operate, how we appoint the board of directors. Do they have the right skills? All these things. So these reform measures are looking exactly at that, to ensure that we don't just go on business as usual. Some of the state-owned enterprises are like 50 years old. They are quite old. They've been there for some time. Then they're using the same model. And if you look at state-owned enterprises throughout the world at the moment, they are modernized. And we need to do the same. Government must take action and change the way SOEs appoint the boards and how those boards appoint CEOs. There must be no interference, so that those who are on the board must understand that they are not managers. When you are a chairman of the board, you are not the CEO. There is a CEO. And those things sometimes have created problems in the past, where there's a lot of interference by boards on how companies or state-owned enterprises work. But I agree with you that we shouldn't paint everybody with the same brush, that all people in state-owned companies are bad. We are not saying that. But we are saying, let's reform. You will find some, rotten apple there and there, but we can't say, sitting here and say, everybody who is on a board of a state-owned company or officials working there are all bad people, corrupt people, messing up. That's not the case. Because reforms sometimes don't necessarily have to do with the actions of individuals, but it has to do with the times as well. We are in a digital economy. We're looking at how other countries are operating, and we must make sure that we are not left behind. Let's support the reforms, and let's make sure that our state-owned enterprises operate effectively like all others in the world. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Deputy President. We now move on to the third question of the day, and that comes from the Honourable Molokome. Honourable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Let me thank Honourable Molokome for raising this important question, because it allows us to highlight government interventions to build ethical, developmental and a capable state. The question further allows us to deal with financial management capacity challenges in the public sector, including the prevalence of maladministration and corruption. In this regard, I have been in constant engagement with the Public Service Commission and the National School of Governance to ensure they implement programs that are directed at strengthening the capacity of the state. Cabinet has also directed the Minister of Finance and Public Service and Administration to collaborate in assisting and assessing the capacity of chief financial officers in all spheres of government with a view to ensuring effective financial management. Government continues to strengthen financial management capacity of our financial management officers through a number of interventions to prevent further occurrence of incidences similar to fraudulent medico-legal claims within the Department of Health. We want to commend the good work done by law enforcement agencies to prevent corruption in this sector. Both the SIU and MPA have moved swiftly recently, and they've managed to prevent the fraud or fraudulent medical legal claims amounting to over 3 billion rands. As part of government intervention to address financial management capacity challenges in the public sector, the National Treasury is currently implementing the capacity development strategy for the financial management in the public sector. That includes stakeholders like the Department of Public Service and Administration and the National School of Governance. Furthermore, government is currently implementing the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which is a national blueprint to prevent fraud and corruption in the public sector. This strategy further acknowledges the Charter of Positive Values as developed by the Moral Regeneration Movement and constitutional values as expressed in the National Development Plan. Honorable Deputy Chairperson, to further strengthen state capacity to deal decisively with financial management, President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law the Public Procurement Bill on the 18th of July this year. The procurement or the Public Procurement Act provides for a single national regulatory framework for procurement to promote integrity, transparency, and strengthen measures to prevent abuse of procurement, wasteful expenditure, and corruption. In conclusion, through these interventions, government will implement the whole of government approach to fight fraud and corruption in the public service. This approach encourages collaboration between government, the private sector, and civil society as one of the fundamentals of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy. Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. We now go on to the first follow-up question from the Honorable Molokome.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. The Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President, among the key factors that are hindering public financial management and accountability in the public sector in South Africa, particularly at local government level, includes the slow pace in developing a model for professionalization of local government. Despite all those efforts to professionalize local government, we still continue to see politicized appointments, inadequate financial management, constrained financial efficiency, and weak service delivery system. Deputy President, my question is, I know that you have touched on the question that I want to ask, but I'll emphasize that so that you do the same to the House. Has government established timeframes for the professionalization of local government as part of the implementation of the capacity development strategy to strengthen state capacity and to deal decisively with financial management capacity challenges in the public sector. Thank you, Chairperson, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Molokome. Honorable Deputy President, your response, please.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. Yes, Honorable Lukume, as I said earlier, the issue of professionalization is already being introduced. In fact, it was introduced as early as 2022, where a framework was